Sandra had just started working 2 days ago. It was not an easy job, but she was happy to have it. She had been looking for work for a long time, and now that she found one, she wanted to do her best. That morning the sky was dark, and the air was cold. Heavy rain poured down, making the roads wet and slippery. Sandra held her small umbrella tightly as she hurried to work. She could not afford to be late. As she walked, she saw something that made her stop. An old woman stood in the rain, shivering. Her clothes were soaked, and her feet were bare. She had no umbrella, no coat, nothing to protect her from the cold. She just stood there looking lost. Sandra felt sorry for her. She walked up to the woman and held her umbrella over her head. "Mama, take this. You will get sick," Sandra said, handing her the umbrella. "Mama, you need to go home." The old woman looked at Sandra with tired eyes and shook her head. "My daughter, I have nowhere to go. I just came from the village. I know no one here." Sandra's heart ached. She reached into her pocket and brought out the little money she had. It was not much, but it was all she had for the day. "Here, Mama, take this and find somewhere to stay." But the old woman did not take the money. She looked at Sandra and said, "I cannot take what you need for yourself, my child." Sandra thought for a moment, then she smiled and said, "Come with me. I'm going to work. You can stay with me until you find your way." The old woman's eyes filled with tears. "May the gods bless you, my daughter." Sandra held the old woman's hand, and they walked together under the umbrella. When they reached Sandra's office, she found a small corner for the old woman to sit. She helped her dry her wet clothes as best as she could. "Mama, don't worry. I have only a few hours before break time. After the break, I will take you home quickly before coming back to work," Sandra said. The old woman smiled and nodded. She watched Sandra as she worked. This young girl had so little, yet she gave so much. A few hours later, Sandra left the office during her break. She walked quickly under the hot sun, heading to a nearby shop to buy food for herself and the old woman. She did not have much money, but she did not care. Mama needed to eat. While Sandra was still out, Emily walked into the office, her high heels clicking loudly against the floor. She had come to surprise her fiancé, Austin, the CEO. She loved showing up unannounced just to remind everyone that she was soon going to be their boss's wife. As she entered, she spotted the old woman sitting quietly in a corner. Mama was folding her hands in her lap, looking down at the floor humbly. Emily frowned, disgusted. "Who brought this dirty, poor beggar here?" she asked loudly, making sure everyone in the office could hear. Mama slowly looked up at her, confused. "My child, please do not be angry. I will leave now," she said softly. Emily scoffed and crossed her arms. "You better. This is my husband-to-be's company. You are not needed here, you dirty old woman. Now get out." Mama sighed and shook her head. "You have a bad character, my daughter. I wonder what kind of man would take you as his wife." Emily's eyes widened with rage. "You poor old woman, just shut up and leave. You have no right to talk about me." Mama slowly stood up, her frail hands trembling slightly as she walked toward the door. She did not argue. She did not fight back. She only walked out, holding back the tears that threatened to fall. Sandra arrived at the office, excited to share the meal she had bought for Mama. But as she approached the building, she saw something that made her stop. Mama was outside. She stood near the gate, looking sad and defeated. Sandra's heart skipped a beat. "Mama, what are you doing out here?" she asked, rushing to her. Mama sighed heavily. "My child, do not be angry. A woman came in and told me to leave. She said I was dirty and poor and that I do not belong here." Sandra's hands clenched into fists. "Who dared to do this to you?" she asked, her voice shaking with anger. Mama hesitated for a moment before saying, "She said she is the CEO's wife-to-be. Her name is Emily." Sandra's blood boiled. She turned sharply and stormed inside the office. Emily was still there, sitting comfortably on one of the office chairs, looking at her nails like nothing had happened. Sandra walked straight up to her. "Emily," she called, her voice firm and strong. Emily looked up lazily. When she saw Sandra, she smiled. "Oh, the poor little worker is back. What do you want?" Sandra's eyes burned with anger. "How dare you treat my mother that way? What gives you the right to insult an elderly woman?" Emily rolled her eyes and laughed mockingly. "Your mother? That dirty beggar. Oh, please. I warned Austin not to employ you, but he didn't listen. And now you are here shouting at me." Sandra took a deep breath, trying to calm herself, but the anger in her heart was too strong. "You don't even know if my boss will marry you. I mean, look at you, so mannerless, so full of yourself." Emily's face darkened. "What did you just say?" she hissed. Sandra stepped closer. "You heard me. If you can treat a helpless old woman like that, I wonder how you will treat your future mother-in-law. Or do you think she will be happy with the way you behave?" Emily scoffed. "Never. My mother-in-law is not poor and dirty like that old woman. She is classy and beautiful just like me. I know she will love me when she sees me." Sandra shook her head in disappointment. "You are so blind, Emily. You think beauty and money make a good wife. Well, a good wife is kind, respectful, and loving. But you are arrogant and cruel. You will never know what true love is." Emily's eyes burned with rage. She stood up and pointed a finger at Sandra. "I promise you, you are going to lose your job. Believe me, you will regret talking to me like this." Sandra laughed bitterly. "I don't care. I don't want to work in a place where people like you exist. You insulted my mother. You disrespected her. And now you think you can threaten me. Do your worst, Emily. I am taking my mother home, and I don't care about this stupid job anymore." With that, Sandra turned around and stormed out of the office. Emily clenched her fists, her face red with anger. "We shall see, you poor little girl. You just made the biggest mistake of your life," she hissed. Outside, Mama was waiting. When Sandra came out, she could see the pain in the old woman's eyes. "My child, you did not have to fight for me," Mama said softly. Sandra smiled and held her hand. "I had to, Mama. No one has the right to treat you that way. Let's go home." As they walked away, Sandra felt a sense of peace. After Sandra and Mama left the office, Emily sat in anger. She could not believe a poor cleaner had spoken to her that way. Her hands shook as she picked up her phone and called her fiancé, Austin. The moment he answered, she pretended to cry. "Austin, something terrible just happened," she sobbed. Austin sounded worried. "Emily, what's wrong? Are you okay?" "No, I'm not okay," Emily cried louder. "Sandra brought some of her street friends to the office. They insulted me and they tried to beat me up. I was so scared." Austin was shocked. "What? Sandra did that?" "Yes," Emily lied. "She even said she doesn't care about her job and walked out like she owns the place." Austin sighed, rubbing his forehead. "I will handle it, Emily. Just go home and rest." Emily smiled to herself. "Okay, baby. Please deal with her. She deserves it." After the call ended, she leaned back in her chair. "Let's see how you survive this, Sandra," she whispered. Sandra and Mama arrived at Sandra's small one-room house. It was a simple space with an old mattress on the floor, a small wooden table, and a single cooking pot. It was not much, but it was home. Sandra helped Mama sit on the mattress and handed her a cup of water. "Mama, I know this place is small, but you can stay here with me as long as you want." Mama smiled warmly. "My child, a home is not about size. It is about the love inside. And I can see you have a kind heart." Sandra smiled back and began serving the food she had bought earlier. As they ate, Mama suddenly sighed and looked at Sandra thoughtfully. "My daughter," Mama began, "I came to this city for a reason." Sandra looked up curious. "Why, Mama? What brought you here?" Mama hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I came to find a wife for my son." Sandra blinked in surprise. "Your son?" Mama nodded. "Yes, my child. He is a good man, hard-working and kind. But he is not married, and I fear he might never settle down." Sandra smiled. "That is a mother's worry, Mama. I am sure he will find a wife when the time is right. Mama held Sandra's hands gently. That is why I want you to be his wife. Sandra's eyes widened. She almost choked on her food. Me? Mama nodded, smiling. Yes, my daughter. From the moment I met you, I knew you were special. You are kind, respectful, and hardworking. You will make a good wife for my son. Sandra was speechless. She had not expected this at all. She looked at Mama, who was staring at her with hope in her eyes. After a moment, Sandra sighed and said, Okay, Mama. But I have to see him first. We need to know each other before talking about marriage. Mama beamed with happiness. That is fair, my daughter. But I must tell you something first. Sandra tilted her head. What is it, Mama? Mama hesitated before speaking. My son has no money. He is not wealthy, but he is very hardworking, very brilliant, and also very handsome. Sandra let out a small laugh. Mama, stop praising your son too much. Let me see him first before you sell him to me like a market woman. Mama laughed happily. Okay, my child. You will see him soon. Sandra smiled and shook her head. She did not know what to expect, but she was curious. Just as Sandra and Mama finished their meal, Sandra's phone rang. She picked it up and looked at the screen. It was an unknown number. She hesitated for a moment before answering. Hello. Good evening. A deep male voice came from the other end. Is this Sandra? Sandra sat up straight. Yes, sir. Who is this, please? The voice became sharp and angry. This is Austin Williams, the CEO of the company where you worked until today. Sandra's heart skipped a beat. This was her boss. She had never met him before. She had only spoken to him once over the phone on the day she was hired. He had been away on a business trip and had left his managers in charge. Sir, good evening, Sandra said cautiously. But Austin was in no mood for greetings. Sandra, how dare you? How dare you bring strangers into my office and beat up my fiancé with your street friends? Who gave you the right to cause such trouble in my company? Sandra's eyes widened in shock. She felt her chest tighten. Sir, that's not what happened. Swear. I never brought anyone into the office to fight. I only helped an old woman who had nowhere to go. She was sitting quietly, not disturbing anyone. But your fiancé insulted her and told her to leave. Austin scoffed. So you are saying Emily is lying? Sandra sighed. Sir, I am telling you the truth. I would never fight in an office where I work. Your fiancé was rude to an old woman. When I came back from my break, I saw the woman standing outside. And when she told me what happened, I went in to ask Emily why she treated her like that. I only defended her, sir. That's all. Austin was silent for a moment. Then he said coldly, You should have called me. You should have waited for me to come back and handle the issue myself. Sandra frowned. Sir, you were not around. And I did not think helping an old woman was something that needed permission. Would you have preferred that I let your fiancé insult her and do nothing? Austin ignored her question. Sandra, you are new in the company. You have only been there for 2 days, and you have already started bringing people in. That is unprofessional. Sandra was getting frustrated. Sir, I did not bring a crowd. It was just one helpless woman, and she wasn't even disturbing anyone. Austin sighed. It doesn't matter. Emily said she will leave me if I don't sack you. And I cannot lose my fiancé over a worker I barely know. Sandra felt a sharp pain in her chest. So this was the kind of man he was. A man who let his girlfriend control him. She let out a bitter laugh. Sir, with all due respect, I am not surprised. I expected this from you. I may have only worked for 2 days, but I have already seen the kind of man you are. You are a woman wrapper, sir. A grown man who cannot make decisions for himself. Austin's breath hitched. What did you just say? Sandra shook her head. You heard me, sir. And you know what? I don't even care. Keep your job. I don't need it. Before Austin could say another word, Sandra ended the call. Sandra dropped the phone and took a deep breath. She was angry, but at the same time she felt free. She had been fired, But at least she had spoken her mind. Mama, who had been watching her closely, placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "My child, what is wrong? Who called you?" Sandra forced a smile. "Mama, it was my boss. He fired me." Mama gasped, her face filled with guilt. "Because of me?" Sandra sighed and nodded. "Yes, Mama. Emily lied to him, saying I brought people to beat her up. And he believed her. He said his fiancée would leave him if he didn't fire me." Mama's face dropped. "Oh, my child. I'm so sorry. I am the reason you lost your job." Sandra shook her head quickly. "No, Mama. Don't think that way. If I lost my job for standing up for you, then I have no regrets. I will find another one soon." Mama sighed deeply. "I feel so bad, my child. You are too good to suffer like this." Sandra smiled. "Don't worry, Mama. Jobs come and go. But what matters is doing the right thing. I have no regrets." Mama held her hands. "May the heavens bless you, my daughter. You will never lack in life." Sandra smiled, but deep inside, she knew she had to find another job quickly. She had bills to pay, and now she had Mama to take care of too. Sandra and Mama sat in silence. Sandra was still thinking about how Austin had fired her so easily, while Mama seemed deep in her own thoughts. Suddenly Mama's phone rang. Sandra turned sharply, surprised. She had never paid attention to Mama's phone before, but now that it was ringing, she noticed it was a very expensive smartphone, the latest model. Mama picked up the call quickly. Her voice was calm as she spoke. A deep male voice came from the other end, calling her Mama, and telling her he had just returned from a trip. He asked her to come home because he wanted to see her. He sounded weak, and Mama's face changed slightly. She asked if he was okay, and he sighed before saying he was not feeling too well. Mama assured him she would come the next day and told him to rest. The call ended, and Mama slowly placed the phone back in her lap. Sandra, who had been quietly observing, asked, "Who called you?" Mama smiled and said it was her son. Sandra was surprised. Mama explained that her son had just returned from his trip and had asked her to come home. He was sick and he wanted to see her. Sandra became worried and told Mama she would go with her to see him. Mama refused, saying there was no need to worry and that she would call Sandra to come over soon. Sandra sat quietly for a moment, then looked at the phone again. It was too expensive for someone who had just arrived from the village with nothing. She asked Mama how she got such an expensive phone. Mama blinked quickly before laughing nervously. She explained that there was no constant electricity in her street, and she loved watching one particular daily TV show. Because of that, her son had used his savings to buy her the phone so she could watch it any time, even when there was no light. Sandra listened carefully before letting out a small laugh. She said Mama's son must really love her to buy such an expensive phone just for a TV show. Mama smiled proudly and said her son was very thoughtful. She told Sandra again that she would like him when she met him. Sandra shook her head playfully and told Mama to let her see the man first before matchmaking her with him. Mama grinned and told Sandra that her son was hardworking, brilliant, and very handsome. Sandra laughed again and told Mama to stop praising her son too much. She said jokingly that Mama was selling him like a market woman. The next morning, Mama woke up early and prepared to leave. Sandra helped her pack a small bag. She hugged Mama tightly and told her to call when she arrived. Mama smiled and assured her she would. Sandra watched as Mama walked away, feeling a strange sense of curiosity. Mama arrived at her son's house, still wearing her old village clothes. The journey had been long and she was tired, but her heart was filled with hope. She had not seen her son in months, and now she was finally here to meet him again. She stood at the gate waiting. The tall iron gate of the mansion looked intimidating, and the security men watched her with suspicion. One of the gatemen, a young man with a thick voice, walked toward her. He looked at her from head to toe, his eyes filled with doubt. He turned and spoke into his walkie-talkie, telling someone inside the house that there was an old, dirty woman at the gate asking to see the boss. There was silence for a moment. Then the walkie-talkie crackled again, and a sharp female voice came through. The gate swung open and Emily stepped out. She was dressed in a tight designer gown and high heels, her face filled with irritation. The moment she saw Mama standing there, her expression turned into pure anger. Emily crossed her arms and scoffed. Her voice was sharp and filled with disgust. She looked at Mama like she was looking at something worthless. "You again. You old, foolish woman. What are you doing here?" Mama stood tall despite her tiredness. Her eyes burned with anger. Her voice was firm as she spoke. "You stupid, mannerless girl. I am here to see my son." Emily threw her head back and laughed loudly. Her laughter was filled with mockery. She pointed at Mama, shaking her head. "Your son? Oh, you must be foolish and blind. I think you are going crazy, old woman. You missed your way to your miserable son's house." Mama's face remained calm, but inside she was boiling. Her hands clenched into fists. Emily stepped closer, lowering her voice but keeping the mockery in her tone. "Or did my village people send you to stalk me in the city? Let me tell you now, you will not succeed. You are wasting your time." Emily flipped her hair back and turned around, walking back into the house. Her heels clicked against the pavement, a sign of her arrogance. As she reached the door, she turned one last time. "Never come close to my husband's house again. You are not wanted here." The door slammed shut. Mama stood there, frozen. She felt anger, sadness, and frustration all at once. Her heart pounded in her chest. She had traveled all this way just to be insulted like this. Her hands shook as she pulled out her phone and dialed her son's number. The moment he picked up, she did not waste time. Her voice was strong, but there was pain in it. "Come home now. I am at your gate, and I have never been so insulted in my life." Her son's voice on the other end was calm but urgent. "Mama, calm down. I am on my way to the house." Mama took a deep breath, but the pain in her heart remained. Minutes later, Austin's car screeched to a stop in front of his house. He stepped out in a hurry, his heart pounding. He had rushed back as soon as his mother called him. The moment he saw her standing outside, dressed in her old village clothes, he was shocked. His mother, the woman who had sacrificed everything for him, was standing at his gate, looking tired and frustrated. She was wearing dirty clothes. He could not believe it. His mother should never have been treated this way. He rushed to her side, his face filled with concern. "Mama, what happened? Why are you standing out here dressed like this?" Mama let out a heavy sigh. She placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Her eyes were filled with disappointment. "My son, I came to your company early today. I disguised myself because I wanted to test your wife-to-be. You have spoken so highly of her, and I wanted to see for myself if she was truly a good woman. Unfortunately, she failed so terribly." Austin's expression darkened. He was so angry. "Mama, what are you saying? What happened?" Mama took a deep breath and continued. "I was sitting quietly in your office. A kind young girl named Sandra helped me. She gave me her umbrella. She took me to work with her so that I would not be stranded in the rain. She fed me and treated me like a human being. But when Emily saw me, she insulted me. She threw me out of your office like I was nothing. She told me to leave and never return." "It's okay, Mama. Let's go inside. We will talk about everything later." He took her hand and led her into the house. The mansion was grand and luxurious, but at that moment, it felt empty and cold. Austin guided his mother to her room and helped her settle in. "Mama, take a bath, eat and relax. You must be tired." Mama nodded slowly, walking inside the room. She was exhausted from everything that had happened. Austin was in the living room, trying to calm himself down. His mind was restless, filled with anger and disappointment. He could not believe everything his mother had told him. The woman he trusted and planned to marry had insulted and humiliated the one person who meant the world to him. His heart was heavy, and his hands clenched into fists as he tried to control his rage.